Good day and welcome to Dutchess Talk Radio, DutchessTalkRadio.com. I'm John Marino, and we are produced by Sharc Creative and made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, supporting our communities right through the spring of 2021. Here today on the Cup of Joe political show, we are joined by Gregg Pulver, the chairman of the Dutchess County Legislature. Gregg is a Republican who represents Milan, Northeast, Stanford, and his home area of Pine Plains. Gregg, I want to point out that as the longtime public address announcer at Pauling High School, I've seen a pretty good rivalry between Pauling High and Pine Plains High. Did you attend Pine Plains?
I did. I was born and raised in Pine Plains and was fortunate to go to school there my entire career.
Did you participate athletically?
Yeah, I was on the track and field team. I did both winter track and spring track and was the captain of the team for 2 years, my junior and senior year.
Especially football, that's a tremendous rivalry between both schools, and you get all the other sports, basketball, lacrosse, soccer. It's great rivalry between Pine Plains. Welcome to Dutchess Talk Radio. Are you happy with the vaccine rollout in Dutchess County so far?
Yeah, John, we've had some really good numbers. We're like at 130,000 first doses already, which is, approaching 50% of the population, not quite, but, high 40%. And about 85,000 second vaccines. So we are doing well. The Jcpenney site and the Dover site are it's like a factory. They're moving them through quickly. And then the pop-ups that we're doing around the county have had very good reception. We kind of had a little bit of a drawback with the J&J vaccine getting pulled, but I know that as of this morning, European Union has reinstated the J&J, so we'll wait and see what that happens here. And but we're very excited, and the county health department has done an incredible job with the rollout.
Where is the Jcpenney site? Is that in Poughkeepsie?
Yeah, that's at Poughkeepsie. It's at the Galleria Mall.
Right.
And we rented the Jcpenney, which is, set up nicely because obviously department stores are designed for crowd flow. So it's instead of buying your shirts and pants there, you can get your vaccine now.
Or you can buy shirts, pants, and get a vaccine too, right? Do it all, one-stop shopping.
One-stop shopping, sure.
Unfortunately, vaccines part of our shopping nowadays. The COVID numbers in Dutchess County, increasing, decreasing, flat?
We're seeing some decreasing now. We've certainly had last year we were looking at horrendous numbers, but with the addition of vaccinations and people being aware, we're starting to see the numbers come way down now.
Mm-hmm. How about your thoughts on the recently adopted state budget, the trickle-down effect on Dutchess County? What does it mean?
We always worry about the state budget. The budget is still done by three men in a room and then rolled out to the rest of the world. We don't understand in Dutchess County the uncapped spending that New York State does. It seems like their only solution is to raise taxes. We've had 6 years in Dutchess County of property tax decreases, but we keep seeing the state of New York increase taxes one way or form or another. If you look at all the revenue that they get from service fees, from tolls, from whatever, we're stymied by the fact that they continue to do this and not look around at getting smaller government, which we have done.
Mm-hmm. Now the state says we were supposed to get $15 billion from the feds. They're only giving us $12.5. We have to make that up somehow. Is that the gist of that? The spirit of that believable?
No. It's spinning numbers. The state government is great at doing that. We need to see real reforms in Albany. I'm not going to get into that here right now, but we've got to be able to trust Albany and their numbers. And I don't feel that that's what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. How about the budget in Dutchess County for this year? Your thoughts on that?
We have done an incredible job working with County Executive Molinaro and Budget Director White. We saw what was happening last year, as we we're going through the COVID crisis. We designed a budget this year that we're living with in 2021 that basically has 140 job titles open at this point. We are starting to, now that we are getting some federal money and stuff, starting to ask the commissioners and department heads what are the absolute basic jobs that you need to be brought back. So we're starting to backfill some of those. But one of the highlights is we're starting to see some sales tax, and people are starting to buy stuff, and that's our biggest revenue generator is sales tax. So we're starting to see some good numbers there, and we hope that the 2022 budget will be much easier to deal with than the 2021 budget.
So we see the difference in the way the state operates as opposed to how Dutchess County operates. What's the key to operating the way Dutchess does? Maybe you could give some helpful hints to the state on how to rein a budget in and yet get all the services, be as effective as possible, make sure everybody has what they need statewide.
Well, we have an incredible dedicated workforce in Dutchess County. Not saying that the state workers aren't. I think you have to give them the opportunity to be dedicated. Whoop. Lights are going on and off here.
That's okay.
Must have been a thunderstorm coming through. Our employees are doing so much more than they have done in the past, and they continue to do it with a smile on their face, and they continue to be productive and bring those services to Dutchess County residents. The state budget needs to realize that government doesn't have all the answers. We have to look at private sector. We have to look at being more efficient in the way we roll out government services. And that's what we're trying to do in Dutchess County, being as efficient as possible, still dealing with our residents that we should be dealing with, but making sure that we're not creating a bureaucracy. And I think we've all dealt with New York State's bureaucracy, and we can tell you that there's 2 or 3 levels of things that could be removed, and none of us would be.
Nobody would miss anything.
Right, nobody would miss it one iota.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've had a pandemic that we've dealt with 13, 14 months or so now. How has Dutchess County made its way through this pandemic for more than a year now?
Yeah, again, our residents are resilient. Our workforce is incredible. We've tried to be leaders in all aspects of this pandemic. We've done a great job in relaying as much information to the residents of Dutchess County as they can handle. We are adamant that we will come through this stronger and better in Dutchess County. And again, I think that the leadership of the county executive and the legislature and all town supervisors and mayors have said, we're going to get through this as a team, and we'll make it happen. And I think that's I think the proof's in the pudding. I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and things are getting better and better as we're doing this.
Has everybody pretty much checked their egos at the doors? Quincy Jones once told everybody when they recorded "We Are the World" when they walked into the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Check your ego at the door.
We put egos aside when it comes to pandemics. There's no doubt.
Right. Gregg Pulver is the chair of the Dutchess County Legislature here on the Cup of Joe political show, Dutchess Talk Radio. I'm John Marino. Gregg Pulver, the state budget, let's go back to that for a second, contains several controversial items, issues like online gaming and marijuana legalization. Yet there's a local opt-out with marijuana legalization where a community can decide we are not going to do this, at least not right now. The biggest town in New York State, it's also the biggest town in this country, town of Hempstead on Long Island, has decided not to join in, and they have opted out. Any communities in Dutchess, from what you've seen, are you aware of any communities in Dutchess that might opt out of the new marijuana legalization law?
We are not aware of any. The one of the problems with opting out, and I'm not criticizing anybody for opting in or out, but it's something to consider. Is you opt out. Part of the law says that you don't partake in the tax revenue that is the potential for that. But you're still going to deal with all the, just because your town opted out doesn't mean you can't go to another town, partake, or even bring it back. So
Right.
without the tax revenues, you're going to be getting all the problems without the ability to maybe solve some of those problems. I mean, we think it's critical that we deal with this in the similar veins of driving while intoxicated. You know, if you're driving while impaired, it doesn't matter what you're impaired on. You still have to be aware of the rest of the traffic on the road, and we certainly don't want any crises on the road. But that being said, you know, I think it's working in other states. It's working in other places. We'll see how it works out in New York State. But right now, I don't know of anybody in Dutchess County, any municipality that's talking about opting out.
Mm-hmm. Online gaming, is there an advantage with this besides the tax purposes with that, the tax money gained?
That's the only,
residents now don't have to go down to Yonkers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned about that than I am as abuse than I am about the marijuana legislation. You know, the idea of gambling on your cell phone that you have with you 24 hours a day, for those people that can't handle it, it's going to be a crisis. And I worry more about that, quite honestly, than the marijuana legislation, because it's something that people don't talk about. People don't tell you they have a gambling issue, and we can look at all the 1-800 numbers that they put on the websites to call. Nobody does it. You know, it's a silent tragedy as far as I'm concerned.
You can't even watch a Rangers or a Knicks game anymore without somebody coming on a recorded announcement during the game, and they give you the over/under for the game, and you can grab your phone and make your bet right now. And I see that as a real problem, obviously, not only locally in Dutchess, but across the state. But the state says they need that tax money, and that seems to be the gist of all of this.
Well, sometimes I think you got to put people's
health and welfare
above the taxes. Again, I mean, I think, marijuana is one of those things that we can talk about the similarities or dissimilarities to alcohol, and we're already doing it in certain cases. We're brand new at the casino. I mean, the casino business isn't that old in New York State. And then we start talking about all the other things that, that we deal with, and online gambling is just something that I think is going to be to the detriment of society.
Governor Cuomo mandated an April 1st police reform measure to be implemented. He needed it on his desk from every town, county, municipality in the state. In Dutchess County, what does police reform look like, especially in the light of the George Floyd trial and everything else that's gone on nationally in the past couple of weeks?
Our police reform and modernization collaborative was, I was a member of that. We created a 140-page document analyzing our current policies and strategies, and looking at better ways of doing it. I think our biggest benefit that we're dealing with now is our crisis intervention training. We are providing, which we've done in the past, long before the George Floyd incident, but we've been proactive for the last 5 or 6 years dealing with this. And we're going to provide crisis intervention training, teaching officers how to deal with people in crises and treating them like the human beings that they are, and not worrying about making an arrest, but worrying about dealing with that crisis and getting them to the place that they need to be. The New York State, when they closed all the psych centers, which, they needed to do, warehousing people with psychiatric issues was wrong too, but they just went cold turkey, and they released a lot of people on the streets that shouldn't have been released without some sort of clinical setting. And now we're dealing with that, and we continue to deal with that. And our officers in Dutchess County are now being trained, and we have a high percentage of them that are already trained. And now we're looking at training the rest of them in how to deal with it. And our stabilization center that we created, which is a model for the rest of the nation, is a place that you can come there and get the help you need for whatever crisis you're in, whether it's drug related, a psychosis, alcohol related, and the police that are there that are not worrying about arresting you. They're worrying about getting you that help. And that's what I see as the biggest thing. De-escalate the problem and make sure those people get the help they need. The Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, their motto is treat others as you want to be treated. And they do it. And we're very fortunate that the sheriff that's here, Butch Anderson, instills that on all his deputies. And,
is this about changing mindsets then?
Absolutely.
With this approach?
Absolutely. Again, it's trying to de-escalate rather than
incite
and ultimately come with an outcome that you don't want to have. We're putting body cameras on our sheriff's deputies now. That's something that we've been trying to deal with the last couple of years in the budget. We have numbers. We're doing it, and hopefully the rollout will be early next year. And because it's not just a simple wearing a camera; it's all the things you have to do with the film after, or the digital recording afterwards. So we've got that. I think pretty well ironed out, and we're hopefully that's another step in creating a sense that the public can trust the police as they should.
Now, some say if you put on a body camera, well, police might be inhibited to go as far as they normally would in a certain situation because they'll be afraid that whatever is seen on that camera will be taken and used against them no matter what happened, no matter what the camera shows.
Well, I think there's enough cases out there with body cameras that's not going to happen. Again, it's all part of the training. The George Floyd, even though it wasn't a body camera per se that was used, but everybody's got a video now on their cell phone, takes it anyway. And we need to be able to record this and store it as evidence in a manner that we can deal with legally. You don't often, I was listening to the verdict last night and some of the pundits, if you believe in the judicial system in the United States, it worked. That's what we have to, our judicial system is second to none in the world. And a jury of 12 peers found the officer guilty. And part of that was the fact that most homicides you don't even have pictures of. You don't have video of the victim of anything. And here you had in the jury's mind compelling evidence that a crime was committed. And we need to preserve the body cameras are going to be able to give us a way to preserve that evidence, right, wrong, or indifferent. And a jury can decide whether the officer did what was necessary to do.
Gregg Pulver is the chair of the Dutchess Legislature, Dutchess Talk Radio. I'm John Marino, Cup of Joe, political show. Gregg Pulver, let's step back again to the pandemic because it's inescapable. How have businesses countywide like restaurants, bars, gyms, et cetera, small businesses per se, been able to cope with the past year and change, obviously, and how are they recovering? How is their progress going? How is that trickle-down effect from the state we talked about going to help with that recovery?
Well, we certainly feel for our small businesses. I'm an avid restaurant goer. I like to eat out, and we changed our habits. We ended up taking a lot of takeout. I think the restaurants that embraced takeout, the restaurants that embraced the proper COVID procedures and were able to get that message out to their customers as they open, we're doing pretty well. That's a relative term. Anybody that survived this year in the restaurant business, I think, has a good future for the next few years because they learned how to deal with this. The gyms and movie theaters, I feel bad for it because they were the last ones to kind of get the okay to reopen. But I think again that they'll come up with ways of dealing with this that will make them better businesses in the future. I encourage, as I do pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, think local, buy local, deal locally. It's important because those are the businesses that contribute to the minor leagues, the little leagues, the Pop Warner footballs, the whatever it can be. Those are the sponsors. You don't get many sponsorships from Walmart in those cases,
Right.
So it's important that you deal with locally. We had a 3 years ago, the local hardware store in Pine Plains closed, and I hear everybody was lamenting, and oh my God, what are we going to do without it? I said, did you ever shop there? Because if you shop there, they probably wouldn't have closed.
Right.
And lo and behold, about a month ago, Roosters Hardware from Stanfordville, just up the road, opened a satellite shop in Pine Plains, and people are starting to rejoice. And I said, just remember, shop there. You may spend $1 more per fitting on an $8 fitting. It may cost you $9 there versus Lowe's,
Right.
but you don't have to drive to Kingston or someplace else. Buy local, deal local, and that will survive and thrive. And that's what we want to see in Dutchess County.
Bottom line, be local.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Gregg, you're a member of the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board, plus also the Soil and Water Conservation Board. Describe the battle to preserve open space here in Dutchess County. One of the best things I think about Dutchess is that it's still very rural in a lot of areas. You have the wineries, you have the Dutchess County Fair every year, everything about the rolling hills, just everything about Dutchess County, the open space, to me, is what makes this county what it is.
Yeah, we were very fortunate years ago. The Dutchess Land Conservancy, the Ag and Farmland Protection Board decided that, and no disrespect to Westchester County, but decided that we didn't want to become Westchester County. We wanted to have enough open space and preserve open space that we would always have those bucolic views. And the overused term is agritourism in Dutchess County. We've protected over 6,300 acres of farmland in Dutchess County over the years. Again, in conjunction with my boards that I serve on, the Ag and Farmland Protection Board and the Soil and Water Conservation District, working with the county executive, we were able to put in $1 million in PMG, which is manageable growth funds, in every year to help offset those purchases of development rights. And we leverage that money with state money and sometimes with the Department of Conservation monies, Department of Environmental Conservation monies to purchase the development rights on farmlands, which is twofold. One is it helps to keep those operations viable. We all know that farming is, and as the only farmer on the legislature, I can tell you farming is a tough business. But it also helps transfer ownerships to the next generation. My parents wouldn't have been able to retire, quote unquote, if they didn't have that opportunity back when we did it. We thought it was important. Our farm is kind of the entrance to the village of Pine Plains, and we thought it would be horrendous to see a bunch of houses there. So we made the determination that it would provide my parents with enough income to retire, allow me to take the farm over and protect the entryway into Pine Plains. So coming from firsthand experience, it's a great program, and we're very glad we did it. And I think everybody that's partaked in that certainly was happy. And I know the thousands and thousands, the tens of thousands of visitors that come through Dutchess County every year appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Talk about the cultural aspect of preserving open space and farmland, what this means to Dutchess.
Well, again, we see it as a big driver in our tourism factor. People come up to Dutchess to look at farmland. That's there's certainly the FDR estates and the Vanderbilts and so on and so forth. But I will tell you, in my little corner of Dutchess County, people drive up Route 22 and they want to see the absolute beauty of the farm fields. And what's that done is it's created these little niche markets out there. The farm stands, the corn mazes. People are able to do things in a business sense in agriculture that we wouldn't have done 30, 40 years ago. And again, a lot of that is because you have enough open space to make a mass of area that people will not ruin by putting houses on them. So I think, culturally, I think it's important. And we still are able to maintain large farms as well as the small farms. And I think that's really the balance that we've been able to do with this program.
All you have to do is drive up 22 from Pauling all the way up to Amenia and a little beyond until you hit Columbia County, and we'll see what you're talking about. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. And we encourage everybody to do that.
Without a doubt. I've done that.
Stop by and buy something at some of the local farm markets. Exactly.
Yep. Gregg, by the way, you were recently honored by the Dutchess County SPCA for all of your work on animal welfare reform. This is a passion for you.
Yes, my wife and I rescue Siberian Huskies. We've seen some real tragedies in that breed, and everybody needs to have something. And my wife is an animal fanatic, and she's turned me into one. So we have worked with the SPCA in creating the Animal Abuse Registry, and it's tough for me to not get emotional about this issue. But when you see some of the pictures and some of the absolute tragedy out there with animals, we wanted to come up with a way that we could track somebody that had a record of abuse animals, that they would never get the chance to do it with an animal again. And so the Animal Abuse Registry was something that is near and dear to our heart. My wife actually brought one of our rescues here to address the legislature.
Wow.
And he's a certified therapy dog. My wife is a school psychologist in the Millbrook Central School District, and actually brings Ace into to the school as a therapy dog. And as she will tell you, it's amazing what a young child will tell a dog that they won't tell a human being. And it's an amazing experience. So she brought Ace in, and she addressed the legislature. And she's, not political. She's not me. But there wasn't a dry eye in this room when she was done. And that had 100% bipartisan support. It passed the legislature unanimously. And we also did a canine tethering law at the same time. And we just wanted to give the canine tethering law is not just about being a law. It's about educating people. And we went out with the SPCA and we did clinics around the county to explain what it is, and just basically making sure that people, if they were going to tether their dogs out, that they knew they couldn't leave them out there for 24 hours a day, that regardless of the length of time, they needed to have a shelter for that dog. They needed to have a place for that dog to be protected and feel safe. They needed to have water and food for that dog. And you think that as a pet owner that you would understand that and deal with it. And unfortunately, some people don't. So again, my wife addressed that issue at the same time. And I will tell you, she is the best animal lobbyist there is. And I'm proud of her for that. And I am proud that I had the ability to bring this to the legislature. And we worked hand in hand with the SPCA to make sure that we were doing it the right way. And I will tell you that Dutchess County SPCA is an amazing, amazing place. And I was so proud when they called me up and said that I was their honoree this past year. And we did a virtual banquet, and we were able to raise some money. And I was very honored.
Congratulations on that. And by the way, the special guest you brought to address the legislature, was his bark bigger than his bite?
Absolutely. He's a love bug. One of the reasons he's a therapy dog is he wouldn't bite a flea at this point. And,
Gregg, on a personal note, the farm that you own, the family farm in Pine Plains, just a few days ago, there was a fire on the farm. You had more than $100,000 worth of damages. How is that situation coming along, the investigation, and more importantly, the effect on you and your family?
Yeah, it certainly it was shocking. I mean, I was bringing a combine out. We don't normally bring one out this early in the season, but we were contracted to harvest some corn that the hunt club next door leaves standing all year long. And so we typically go out, and it just takes a day or two. But I brought the combine out and was giving it a little exercise, making sure the tires and everything worked. And evidently, a rodent of some sort. Maybe I should have had my dogs near the combine. Maybe the rodents wouldn't get in, which is unfortunately typical in the industry. It must have got something. We figure you can tell where the fire started. It was definitely electrical. We lost a piece of equipment. However, I think the story is I called 911, and then my next phone call was directly to the fire chief, who's a friend, and told them exactly where I was, because I didn't want them getting lost on the farm, and he knew he'd been hunting down there, so he knew exactly where I was. So they didn't have to drive around the farm looking for me. The local state trooper was the first one on the scene, and he grabbed, as soon as the fire trucks grabbed, he grabbed the nozzle and went right out and started putting it out. The Dutchess County Sheriff's Department, again, I can't say enough about them, showed up and helped. And of course, all my neighbors and friends reached out to me. So that's what's living in a small town's all about, is having those neighbors and those people that in a time of need come behind your back and help you out. At the time, I didn't even know if I had insurance on the equipment. I thought I did, but you never quite know. When you get in a car accident, you always hope that your wife paid the premium or you paid the premium or whoever. And I just wanted to, so the next day, so the monetary loss isn't going to be all that bad. It's just my ego's a little bruised. I should have done a little bit more cleaning on that machine maybe or something, but it was nice to see the volunteers come out, and as a lifetime member of the Pine Plains Hose Company, they do a great job. They really do.
And that's what being local is about. Exactly. Gregg Pulver, one of my fondest memories of Dutchess County is the chili I had at the Dutchess Fair, made by the Rhinebeck Fire Department back in 1991. Some of the best chili I've ever had in my life. Will there be a Dutchess County Fair in 2021? I certainly hope there is. I have not, Andy Imprati, who runs the fair, or is the superintendent of the fair, and I are friends. I've tried to encourage him to do that. Of course, we're going to have to worry about, what the COVID effects are. We did, my first year as the chairman of the legislature, we did a legislative meeting at the fair. I brought the entire legislature out there. We did our meeting on site the night before the fair opened. We did it on a Monday night. I bought everybody 4-H milkshakes. The 4-H, I contacted, of course, I know everybody in the 4-H milkshake booth, so I was able to ask them if they would show up a day early, and they happened to do a training session the night before. So they said, certainly. So I was able to buy all the legislators milkshakes. I was surprised that a few of the legislators had never been to Rhinebeck or even to the fair. So it was a good way to introduce them to that. And we had a great time. And I certainly agree with you. It's a great place. And I certainly hope they open this year. I guess everything about Gregg Pulver is being hyper local. Yes, absolutely. Gregg, by the way, for anyone who'd like to contact you to talk about county issues, website, email, phone number? Yeah, so they can reach me certainly at the legislature. My information is on the Dutchess County website. My email is gpulver@dutchessny.gov. And if I don't get back to you in a day, my legislative assistant certainly will. And that's Nick Joseph. Yeah, Nick Joseph is my right-hand man, and I appreciate it. And if you go onto the website and look at my bio or my information, the cell phone number there is my cell phone number. I answer it, and I take calls anytime you call me. And by the way, special thanks to Nick Joseph for getting us together here today. Gregg Pulver, Chair of the Dutchess County Legislature, we thank you for joining us here on Dutchess Talk Radio. Let's do it again. It's been a pleasure. Anytime. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gregg Pulver. And I'm John Marino. We are Dutchess Talk Radio, produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, supporting our communities through the spring of 2021. Catch all of our Dutchess Orange, Rockland, Putnam, Westchester, and Fairfield County Talk Radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube.